Okay.
Okay, so we're calling the meeting to order at 7:51 a.m. First order of business is public comment. Do we have anybody in the waiting in the lobby, Laura? No?
No.
Nope. Okay, no public comment. All right, so we need Vince for approval of the October 23 minutes and the 2024 schedule. So we can talk about the 2024 schedule for a minute. I sent it out. I need to get it to Patty by the end of the year for the town website. So anybody see anything that we need to change in that, Laura? I'm thinking of, or Jeff, school things that I missed.
I'm multitasking. I didn't hear that. I'm sorry.
Just looking at the meeting schedule for next year.
Mm-hmm.
Just want to make sure I don't have any conflicts with school stuff, which I think I avoided, but
I don't see any conflict.
okay, because we do have a meeting the end of December, which is why our first meeting we're doing every 6 weeks is not until the first week of February. Laura, does that make sense?
Yes. I'm just looking for your email and I don't know why I'm not seeing it.
It was the one that had the agenda and the minutes.
Yeah, like I said,
It's
everything
on
gets rolled up.
Sunday.
Yeah, this is different from what I see when I in the studio. So I'm trying to adjust to the
Do you want me to read through the dates?
yeah, please, thank you.
Okay. So like I said, we do have a meeting December 28th, which I imagine will be quite short, but I do need to get approval for the budget. So we are going to need to have that meeting because I'll be meeting with Vicky before February 8th.
Mm-hmm.
So that first meeting, since we're going every 6 weeks, is February 8th, then March 21st, May 2nd, June 13th, which hopefully will not be like graduation.
That's the only one that I can think of that could be. I'm sorry, what was the April date?
No April, it's every
no
6
April.
weeks.
Okay.
May 2nd.
May 2nd. Okay. I
June
just wanted to make
13th.
sure it didn't overlap with April break.
Yep, July 25th,
Okay.
and then September 5th, October 17th, and then December 5th. And then our first meeting in 2025 would be January 16th.
Okay.
I can't believe Vince isn't on. Let's just see if he.
See.
I'm going to try to text him. Hold on. Just... Okay, I just texted him.
I haven't heard back from Jens. Excuse me.
Ugh. Come on, Vince, get on. We just got stuff we got to approve. Well, I can do that by, I'm on, I guess you can't see me. God. Vince says he's on.
I just promoted him to wait a minute. Promote to panelist. Come on. I do not know. All right. I don't know why this isn't.
There he is. Okay.
I enabled talking, but wait a minute.
Vince, are you there?
Okay. Yeah, it says he'll be rejoining the webinar as a panelist. I've never run a meeting like this before. So.
We'll figure it out. Vince,
Yeah.
Can you hear us? Are you?
Yeah, he just switched over to a panelist, so he should be good.
Okay.
There you are.
Sorry about that.
No. Hey, we don't have Bill. We're doing the best we can.
Yeah, I don't know what was
How are
going on
you?
this morning. I'm good.
Well, remember, we get two notifications. One is the public notification for the meeting so that anybody from the public can join. And then Bill only sent out the panelist, which is us,
Yeah.
email like Monday or something. So thank you for joining. I know you have a time constraint, so I want to roll
Right.
along here. So we already did the public comment.
Mhm.
Let's do approval of the October minutes, which I sent out. Anybody have any, well, let's get a motion first.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Vince. Second. Amy, I need you. Or I can second. Okay, all those in favor? Amy, if you can raise your little hand.
Aye.
Yep, hand raised.
Unanimous, all right. Okay, so now we're talking about the 2024 meeting schedule, which I sent out,
Yeah.
Vince.
Yep, yeah, I heard all that. So I'm
Oh, you
fine with all
did?
the dates. Yeah,
Okay, all right, so I need a motion to approve that.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Amy. Second,
I'll
Meetings.
second.
Vince, thank you. Any other discussion on the meeting dates? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, great. All right, so 2023-24 budget status, we're in great shape. I think I sent out the snapshot of where we are, not through the end of October, because I'm still getting videographer invoices in, but we're in great shape. Okay, so 2024 budget, 2024-25, I need to get any requests that we want to spend by like mid-December so that I can get this thing all teed up. So we are looking at a couple of items specifically. Quote for a closed captioning for the TV station,
Oh, I have to get that. I'm sorry.
the quote for the cloud storage, that whole thing about archiving. And I think once we know how much the cloud storage is going to cost, that'll help us set our policy on how much we're going to keep, because we can easily meet the town's requirements, even though they don't really, apply to us. We just, we want to have some basis for
Right.
comparison. And then the last thing is, we did discover during election night that DNR came in and looked at the equipment, and there's some upgrades we probably need to make. Laura, if you want to elaborate on that.
The studio, and Amy, I don't know how familiar you are with our studio equipment, but it really hasn't been tended to in, I would say, conservatively 5 to 7 years at least, possibly closer to 10. So the PC that we run our switcher and graphics and lots of other things off of is so old. Jeff, Pete came in and he looked at it and he said, wow, that's an HP. We haven't had HPs in years. So, and it's running Windows 7. It's very slow. So that's something that was recommended we upgrade. And then one of the engineers who was in also said that he noticed that the wiring was not labeled correctly. So he wanted to just come in and do a little bit of TLC. It's literally really dusty. So that is what he's, and he had suggested a couple of other things, which we can get into when we get down to technical, but that's kind of the gist of it, was just to give the studio equipment some TLC that's long overdue.
So the main thing is, if anybody else has any other ideas, and I will send out an email.
Jens and I did have, Kate, Jens and I did have a discussion. Jens had recommended looking into studio cameras, like true studio cameras that run on power instead of, like, we were running on batteries for the longest time. I did find the power adapters, but for the election night, we did run on, electricity rather than battery power. But he had recommended looking into some Blackmagic studio cameras.
Okay, well, remember, we have $5,300 in this year's budget that we can spend. Now,
Okay.
that was supposed to be to replace our field cameras, I believe. But if, we always have some leftover money in our operating budget. So if you want to, get me the quotes and you to give me a recommendation so that we can decide if we're going to spend it now or put it in.
I would definitely, I would like to work with Jens on that, only because he's got a little more experience, because these studio cameras are just the camera body where you need a separate lens. So I just want to make sure that everything I'm quoting is correct,
Okay.
that we don't have any surprise costs.
So we just need that stuff by the
Right.
middle of December so we can decide what we're buying this fiscal year, which goes through June 30th, 2024, and what we're waiting to buy next July.
Right, okay,
That makes sense?
yep. Oh, and yeah,
So any questions or comments on that, Vince or Amy or Jeff?
Laura, the question I have, the PC you're talking about, that's a PC, not a server?
I really am not entirely sure. I know it's a PC, it may be functioning as a server, but
Okay.
again, that predates me, so I don't really know.
'Cause generally, we purchase, most of our PCs are gonna be ASUS PCs, even the old, I mean, district-wide, our PCs are, which is one of the things I'm working on, are about 11 year, 10, 11 years old, which is why we have a 5-year plan and we're trying to upgrade our regular PCs. So since I've been here, we bought HPs once, and that was probably 7 years ago. But
Right, I think,
that's
yeah,
that's why I asked, because generally a server would be an HP, not a PC. But
right, again, I can't answer that definitively because that was installed before I came along, so I'm not entirely sure whether that was something that my understanding is that that's something that DNR would replace, so I'm pretty sure that is
Okay.
something that they had
okay,
installed.
that would make more sense.
Yeah, and I think it's just sitting on the TPS network.
Okay, because if it was a matter of, if it wasn't performing and I could, supply you with a PC that was more up to date, I would say, if you give me minimum requirements, even on one of my older ones, I can kind of beef up, you know what I mean, if it would help. But I would need to know what the minimum requirements were to see if if I would have something like that available. I mean,
Right. Well, and when the quote, we're anticipating a quote from DNR, so when that comes
Okay.
in, that would help too.
okay,
Well, yeah, make sure it's got enough specifics that Jeff can look at it and say, oh, well, I got something that'll meet those requirements, or no, you're gonna have to
Absolutely.
buy a new one, right?
yeah, because the one sometimes you have to be careful, because if you supply your own, so like if DNR gives you a list, and I say, well, I'll give you this, and they can, they can always point to that as a point of failure and say, well,
Right.
it's not working because you put that in, you know what I mean? So
Right.
we want
Well,
to balance it, but if it's something
Yeah.
we can save money, I'll certainly be willing to help.
Well, we just need to work together, right? We
Yep.
want the right solution. If it can be cost efficient, great, but if it can't, that's okay too. We just need to know what we're doing.
Exactly.
Okay, super. So Laura, you're going to coordinate that with DNR and make sure Jeff's in the loop. So
Yes.
again, also so that we make sure whatever we get is going to be okay with the TPS system, right?
Right, it's gonna have to
Yeah.
sit on their network, so we gotta make
Yes.
sure that it's
Yeah.
Right.
integrated.
Okay, so any other thoughts about the budget that you want me to take into consideration, or I'll just do my normal thing and we'll have our meeting at the end of December to approve that.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
again, it's like yesterday I was just thinking through some things, and it's nothing, there are no big ticket items. It's just, it might be equipment, like for instance, stuff that would be nice to have. It was more like a wish list thing. So
Well,
it's not
put it
critical.
together, and again, we see what we can buy this year and we see what we can, I'm
Yeah.
just going to need to be able to make the case to
Right.
First Selectman, Board of Finance, Town Council, and why we need it.
Yep.
Okay. All right, so nothing to approve here. Let's move on to programming. What do you got, Laura?
Programming, we're still rolling along. Again, general programming. There hasn't been as, again, fall sports was great. We had a lot of coverage with that. We are now moving into concert season, which is everybody's favorite topic of programming. So I've sent that out to the videographer staff yesterday. So hopefully some things will be rolling in. And I sent that out before I sent out the winter sports, because I want to make sure the concerts are covered over a sports.
First. Yeah. So how many videographers do we have now? Like, I finally got a vendor number for Memphis. And
Yeah.
can you male, female?
Male.
Male. Okay. Very nice young man.
Yeah, nice kid.
So how many student videographers do we have?
Right now I have 3 active. I don't know if one more is gonna join on. He played football, so in the fall he wasn't, so I had 4 who like there were, so I think I have 4 total. I think Memphis is the only one who does not drive. Maybe, I don't know if Jeff Baez drives. He may not either. So 2 of them drive and 2 of them may not. So
Okay, so that's Jeff, Memphis.
Leah and Courtney.
Okay. I just want to make sure I have.
Yeah,
Okay, keep going. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
that's okay. But we've got, it's concert season time, so that's coming up. Sorry, I'm just trying to check in on how we're doing with signups. We've got some of them signed up. Richie is still as reliable as the sun, God bless him. And we've got Richie and Matt. Ryan, excuse me, Ryan is now working full-time at Fairfield, so he's not always available. And Rainey has not always been available either, but I am including them in on any opportunities for videographer because, why not? It can't hurt. The more coverage we can get, the better.
Yep.
I would like to, and I'm not really sure how to go about this, get more field videographers who, like adults who can do this, just to cover things like, library stuff and senior center things.
So why don't you run a bulletin board on the station and then get
Okay.
it posted up on our Facebook page?
Yeah.
Amy, other suggestions? Join our team.
Yeah, I'd say that Facebook probably would be the best.
Yeah. We ran an ad. We actually ran a paid ad at one point, but that really didn't give us what we were looking for. It was a little too, because with Facebook ads, I found that you couldn't really micro target the way that I wanted to. So, but yeah, I'll definitely do that. Fall Sports, Original Productions. Actually, today I am going over to Town Hall to work with Rob Labrandy about the plan of conservation and development, to put a piece together for that, to sort of promote the upcoming meeting where they're soliciting input from the community. Trying to think of what else I've worked on. I worked with TPOD. I've been doing a lot of work with TPOD. We worked with the Youth Advocating for Youth. They put together some videos for the middle schoolers, What's Your Why, and just to encourage smart choices with them. We also recorded and we're broadcasting the Freshman Drug and Alcohol Forum, which has now been rebranded to Positive Choices, Healthy Kids, which is more about, again, making good choices, how to handle stress and, resources, like what are your resources as opposed to, the past, like. So we've been doing that. Again, I've just been working with, reaching out to all the different town departments. Who can we work with? What can we do? What kind of, information can we put forth? I did a restaurant week piece with Rena Bacalar to promote. We recorded at Freiburg and then put together a promotional piece for that. So that is where we are with original stuff. I extended an invitation to Todd Manuel and Kathy Hilser about recording those beginning of year stuff. But again, I don't think that's going to be on their mind until probably summertime. So that's okay if I put, I'm going to just keep that in the back of my mind and revisit that in the summer, because I'm sure that's when they're going to think about it again.
Okay, and let's talk about the election.
The election. First of all, thank God all the technology worked.
Mhm.
That was a white knuckle ride leading up to it. We had some issues with, I did everything that I was, everything that was supposed to be done, and I still wasn't pushing a signal out over the station or over the streaming encoder. So DNR came in and found there was some piece of equipment. I couldn't even tell you what it does. It's a decimator. I think what it does is it knocks down the signal from HD to standard def. For some reason, that was blocking the signal. The engineer took it out, reconnected everything, and it worked.
And then that
Yay!
night,
Yeah.
let's talk about how
That
the
night, everything, oh, thank God, yeah. So once again, we teamed up with Katie Bolin, who is history teacher at Trumbull High, and her We the People / Bison students. They are great kids. So we had 3 student anchors, and then we had like a B desk that had 2 pairs. One pair of kids were the history experts, and the other pair of kids were the what's going on around Trumbull, and they talked about, high school happenings and things like that. So that was really well put together. We've done this with Katie enough that she wisely knew to get those kids to create some content to help us get through that waiting period when all the results were coming in and being tabulated. And then Vince, our spreadsheet whiz, was doing things that I had not seen before with made pivot tables look like easy stuff, and graciously, like worked well. Grace under pressure, man. That was, there was what you said, there was an issue with formulas jumping on the wrong line or something.
Yeah. I had to make some changes on the fly, so it was a little stressful at the time, but it wasn't bad.
It worked out well, and we got all
Yeah, it
the
worked out
results.
well. Yeah.
Again, we had kids to do graphics. I made templates in Google Slides, which actually ended up working out really well, because then in the future, I or the kids can just edit those. They're going to live on the Google Drive. And yeah,
how did we do on streaming viewership?
Streaming viewership.
Because I couldn't watch live, but I did watch the whole thing. I had an industry event. I did watch it at like an hour later, and it looked and sounded great. I mean, the audio was great. The video looked really crisp and clean. The kids were great and hilarious.
Yeah. Brian came in to help with audio, which was super helpful. It's hard to say the night of, but I'm looking at on YouTube right now, the video, and it's showing that we have had, over time, we've had 1,260
nice
views,
Okay.
which is fantastic.
Yeah.
So I heard that I heard that the Democrats had it on at their headquarters night of.
Yeah.
I do know a lot of people, like I've had a lot of people anecdotally say, oh, I watched it, either because their kids were on it or because they were interested to know what was happening. So that was
great job by all.
Yeah,
really,
I thought it was done very well.
That was the best night we've ever had.
It was great. Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, everybody did a great job. Everybody, it was a nice all hands on deck. Katie had spoken to the kids beforehand, and just because the kids, they're being teenagers and being a little goofy, and some of the kids were kind of goofing around, and we kind of had to be like, okay, guys, listen, we know we don't want this to be heavy. We don't want to like stress you guys out or anything, but a lot of people watch this, and people have, the tenor in the town can be tense. There are people who are just looking for fights. We've been, the station and Katie have been accused of having biases in the past. So we just need to be mindful, and know your audience. And the kids really, they rose to that, and they were great.
So Vince, what were you going to say?
I was just saying my only comment, and unfortunately I don't think there's anything we can do about it, is the absentee ballots. I think there was at least one race that flipped the other way.
The treasurer, actually.
The treasurer, yeah. But I don't know how we can possibly get them earlier. So,
and I did, I tried to make it a point to put on the graphics, total only includes in-person votes, does not include absentee ballots. And we did remind the kids to say these are just the in-person.
And they were very consistent about that. But you know what? I did count absentee ballots the last presidential election, I believe. So maybe, Laura, what you can do is contact Gene Rabineau at one of the registrar of voters. And I mean, it does take a while, right? But it's happening as soon as the polls close. the
Right.
counting starts, right? So I don't know what the final numbers of absentee ballots were in the end, but we
Mm.
should talk to her about how long it takes, right? And
Okay.
is there any opportunity for us to, have somebody there to get the numbers when they're counted? The challenge is we're really on the air only like an hour, and I don't
Right.
think they get counted in an hour, but
Yeah,
at least find out,
Right.
do we know how many absentee ballots came in? Is, I don't know, something.
Right. Right.
And,
Hmm.
I would wait a couple of weeks, because she's, the whole registrar's office is just trying to finish up all the paperwork they have to do for the election with the recount and everything. So, maybe right after Christmas, reach out to her and just talk about wanting to get, more results if we can that night. And is there a way to do that? Or what could we report on?
right.
Okay.
That makes sense?
I can do that.
Because I'm pretty sure they would have at least a count of the number of ballots they're going to be counting, right? As soon as
Right.
8 o'clock hits. Um,
And even still, they will have a rough idea, going on the air at 8 o'clock. They could say, oh, by 7:45, 7:30, there were X number of absentee ballots. So keep in mind.
Right.
yes, yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, trying to be mindful of Vince's
Yep.
issue. Let's just see if there's anything else we need to vote on, or if we can skip down. Why don't we just skip for now, technical for the moment?
Sure.
Not that we don't need to talk about it, but I do want to give an update on the meeting with Dr. Semmel, Laura.
Yes. So following the election prep, we realized that, again, there's a lot of well, in addition to the election prep and needing to work with Jeff and his team about IT issues, we also realized there's a lot of opportunities, and Kate and I have been working on this for a long time, to try to get Trumbull High students into the studio, not just as part-time videographers, but as actual coursework. So we've been working on that. And I had reached out to see if Kate and I could meet with Dr. Semmel, and we met with him last Friday just to kind of talk to him a little bit, to sort of give him just a quick overview of what kind of programming TCTV does, what kind of synergies we see and what we hope to see, and just how we can build that relationship moving forward. And Kate and I felt really positive walking out of that.
We do have 4 line items in the GLs in the Board of Ed budget, small as they are. And we also wanted to get clarity. We don't get any reporting on how is that spent, where, to make sure, it's being spent on the right stuff, and to at least have the conversation about what should or should not be in that. We're not asking them for more money. We're not asking them. We were asking them for, okay, who's the guy that
Right.
we're going to be able to call on for if we get into a high level issue? Is Jeff the guy? Is it somebody on Jeff's team? Jeff, I'm assuming if he hasn't reached out to you to talk about it, that he will. But I think it was more about the tenor of the conversation that I felt really good about. He is going to send us some detail on what those GLs have been spent on in the past. So again, we can just get a feeling for what are they buying that we might not know about, so that we can do the right kind of planning for the next fiscal year, which our numbers are locked in for the Board of Ed side of things, but because he's already pretty much got his budget squared away. But it was, and he knew a fair amount about the station. So I was pleased to see that, and I could see that he saw the value. So,
and one of the, I'm sorry,
okay.
one of the more important, the questions that I had was, again, as Kate said, is who, because we used to have Sean, he would be our technical person. So he had the more in-depth knowledge of how things were wired, if something went wrong, how to fix it. and all that other stuff. So the question, I mean, I don't, as you know, Jeff, I don't need a ton of support, but when I do it, it tends to be urgent. And it tends to be kind of more admin level stuff. And it's, you know, some of it, it's stuff that I can't do.
Well, that's,
And I try to,
like your last issue, that's why I had Pete go over there, just, again, I don't have an audio visual expert on because the position, Sean's position was eliminated. So, you know, server related stuff, you know, Pete helped trace the wiring, stuff like that. Certainly we're gonna dive in and help whenever
right.
needed, you know, when called upon. And I try to, I know your issues when you do are gonna be more urgent, so I try to give that priority.
And you have, it's not that, you know, it's not that your team.
Yes, we
has
were
it, it
definitely
wasn't-
not complaining.
Oh, no,
No.
no, I didn't take it that way. I just wanted to reassure you that, you know, we don't have I can't, on my staff right now, we don't have an audio visual expert. So a lot of
And-
the stuff like the DNR did, we're not gonna know why this wire goes here, or, you know, or, you
Right.
know, but we can certainly, from a technical standpoint, say, okay, the server has an issue and try to assist, you know, where we can.
I
And that
think
was the
that's also
question that,
trying to plant the seed that if the videography classes at Trumbull High are going to get more engaged in using the studio, to plant the seed that should there be the opportunity to hire more people onto the district technical team, that somebody with some AV experience might not be a bad idea. But we know that, you know, you're not getting more people, you know, there's no more head count in the budget or anything, but
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Laura, I cut you off.
no, that's okay. It was just basically, you know, that what we really could, the station really needs somebody who has that technical knowledge, and we just weren't sure where that person would come from, like you said, whether it was Jeff, your team, or one of the teachers who teaches the, you know, the video production classes. And, you know, and that's not really Kate's or my decision to make. It was just more, you know, explaining to Dr. Semmel, these are the things these are the things that we've come across, and this is something that would really be of use to the station, and then therefore to the student, you know, the student's opportunity for curriculum.
Okay, great. All right, so we'll have Vince for 6 more minutes. So let's go back to the technical stuff. The studio upgrade stuff, you want to quickly go through that, but you'll have another opportunity in December, I think, Laura, when we have a more complete list from DNR.
Right. So again, the studio upgrade, they want to upgrade that computer. And Jeff, I will get you details and see if, you know, if it makes sense, which way it makes sense for us to go.
Okay.
And then they also, like I said, they wanted, the wiring is not labeled correctly. So, which makes troubleshooting a little more challenging. So Tim wants to go through and just make sure all the wiring is correct, all that other stuff. And then the other thing that he recommended, which is a little frustrating, but whatever. It was recommended that we look into replacing the streaming encoder, which we already replaced, but because their DNR does not, I don't know if you recall, Vince, we had HB install that. That was, I think it was right after COVID, where Kate and I had not created a bid before for the studio and learned the hard way that we need to let the vendors know to please
Right.
bid on this. So HB ended up replacing it. And while looking for some support, I knew that HB was bought out by a company called Diversified. Our sales contact is no longer there. So it took a couple days for a sales contact to get back to me. So it was just a little bit of, you know, building up a new process. But DNR is the vendor who installed all of the studio equipment. They've installed the new video delivery system in Board of Ed. They will be installing the new video delivery system in Town Hall and Council Chambers. So, but it's worth it to get the quote for a new encoder to see what they recommend. I mean, the good news is it did work. on the night of the election. So we know that it works, we know that it streams, but you know, they're gonna put a
Well,
quote out for that.
Let's get that rolling.
Yep.
On the council chambers, Bill did say that the DNR is scheduled to install the first week of December, so
Yep.
that journey might finally be over. Yay. Um,
Every time I go to town hall to download a meeting, I'm like, it's almost the last one. It's almost the last one.
okay. Okay, so let's keep going. The cloud decision, so we need a quote on that,
Mhm.
right?
Yes,
And so we can decide which fiscal year we're putting that into, and then based on how much we're going to spend, then that'll determine our policy on archiving.
Right.
So I'm going to need that for the quote, for our budgeting for next year.
okay. I will nudge Ed and Jens, because I'm not sure if they, again, it was not clear to me who was supposed to be grabbing that data. So,
Okay, well, if you can get that
yep,
resolved.
I will nudge them. And
And
then
then-
I will find the quote for the closed captioning. My understanding from our discussion, or at least my recollection, was that we felt that it was that the price was not in line with what we felt the value was, and that YouTube can do that for us.
I'm confused. So I think we were talking about two different things. One was to close caption the station,
Right, right.
and then the other was how you get closed captioning on the Facebook feed and the YouTube's feed.
Right. I mean, YouTube can do that already, and then I have an instructional video which I can put back up on the website.
Yeah, I would just leave them there,
Okay, yeah,
just to give people so they know they can go to their website and find out how to do that on
right.
either one of those platforms.
Okay,
Facebook should be able to do it as well.
Facebook too, right? So let's just get those
Yeah.
instructions up.
okay. I can
Then,
revise that video.
and then we need the quote to put it on to get it on the station.
Right, right. I'll get the proper quote. As I recall, I remember we discussed this at a prior meeting, and I know Ed had said that the price seemed excessive.
Well, again, it's all, I don't know, I don't
Yeah.
have any context for that. So I want the numbers, and then we can decide how much we're going to try to put into the budget.
Sure.
Okay. Anything on marketing or PR? All right, then we're just,
There was a request for additional swag, which makes sense because I know that when Arnie and Dennis go to town hall, like Arnie will ask to get in, and sometimes if the door is locked, he's like, it'd be nice if I had it like a hat with the logo on it so people know, if they let me in, they know they're not like letting in, some riffraff. Like, that's not a bad idea.
for them to wear.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so why don't you get a quote on,
Yep, I'll get a quote. I figured I would do like baseball caps and beanies because I know that it would be nice at the football games to be able to, or at some of the outdoor events to
Yep.
the videographer to wear a hat just to
we have money for that, so let's do it.
Okay. All right, I will get a quote for that.
Okay, and then how about the Todd Manual meeting?
I'm gonna sign off now.
Okay, bye, Vince.
Thanks, Vince.
Have a
You know.
great Thanksgiving.
You
Happy
too.
Thanksgiving.
Nice
Bye.
Thanksgiving.
Okay, Todd. Todd meeting.
Is that me or is that Amy?
I think it was me, and I thought we we were going to remove that, but
Oh, okay.
or if you want to email me and him, I mean, I've run into him enough at certain events and talked
Right.
like slightly about it. But if you want to put the two of us together, I could find time as well.
Okay,
But I think we could remove it from the bullet points.
I agree. And then I think what I will do, I still have to find out, maybe Amy, what I think I'll do first. I will email Todd and find out who our contact is now that he's building principal, because he was our contact when he was the C House principal. So he may be delegating that to somebody else. So
Yeah,
I'll-
and then if you want to come along whenever we do it, I think that'll be helpful too.
Sure,
Because I don't have the history that you have here.
right.
I think that's great for opening up that discussion, but I don't have like the history to be able to speak to some of the elements.
I think that makes
Definitely,
sense.
and especially if one of the house principals is assuming that responsibility, they won't have that history either, so then I can at least sort of bridge that gap, and then you guys can kind of move forward with that. So I'll
That
do that.
sounds good.
Okay,
Okay, so I think the main thing is, Laura, we've got a lot of quotes to get pulled together by
Yep.
the middle of December. So
Yes.
if you can get Ed and Jens involved where appropriate,
Mhm.
and then make sure we're getting anything that Jeff would need to know about, make sure he's in the loop.
Yes,
We don't want to surprise anybody on the technical side, right? We should just, as a matter of course, keep him in the loop so he doesn't go, where did that come from?
What is this? No.
Right, yeah.
That thing. Because it's his stuff now. It's thank God you're named Jeff though. That makes it really
Yeah, it
easy.
makes it simple.
All right. I don't have anything else.
the only other thing I have is that I just need to follow up on the Fairfield University connection.
Yep.
I just need to contact the person, because what had happened was we were asked to create an account in Handshake, and because our email domain is the same as the Trumbull PS, the public schools domain, it was coming up as a Trumbull public school opportunity. And so I just need to have a phone conversation to explain that that Trumbull Community Television is a different entity that's not part of the Trumbull Public Schools, even though we have the same email domain. So, and that happened right before election season. So I was like, I can't deal with this right now. So now I need to pick that back up. And
Yeah, and the timing would be good if we could
Yeah.
get that straightened out so that second semester we might be
Yep.
able to get somebody.
absolutely, because even
And
if
then-
it's, even
and
if
it's-
it's a few hours
go
a
ahead.
week to come into the studio to do the social media and whatever else, that would be a big help.
So it's just explaining that we're separate from the schools, but still operate out of Trumbull High. And then just make sure if there's any like actual technical handshake stuff that Jeff needs to know about, right?
I think
He's in
it's
the-
just because the TrumblePS.org made whatever, what the system, the back end say, oh, I recognize that, that's Trumbull Public Schools. So I think I just need to say, hey, we need to set up a separate account. So I think once that's done, it shouldn't be a
Okay.
problem. Because it was one of those things, like, it was a technical issue that, my contacts were not able to answer.
Answer. Okay, good. All right, does anybody have anything else to talk about? Jeff, thanks so much for jumping on. We really appreciate you participating. And just every 6 weeks, hopefully it's not too much, but
No.
just having somebody there that if we need an answer or something is very helpful. So thank you.
Yeah, looking over the dates, the only one that I may not make is the December 28th, because I believe I'm away that week.
Well, as long as we've put you, Laura's given you the heads up on any of the equipment that we're going to be asking for, that if you have any thoughts, opinions, issues with, that we get those sorted out.
Okay.
But I'm probably going to err on the side of asking for equipment and let them say no.
Oh.
As long as we know it's not
Yeah,
going
it'll
to.
work in the environment.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, cool. Amy, anything else for you?
Nope, nothing on my end.
Okay, great. All right, thank you guys so much. Have a great Thanksgiving, and
Thanksgiving, I'm going to stop recording.
I'll be